Hello everyone! We already know that Constitutional also has a diminishing return more points you invest, and it's like this. Up to 100 points invested we gain 25 hit points per level. From 101 to 200, 24 hit points, 201 to 300, 23 hit points, 301 400, 22 hit points, and above level 401 we gain 21 hit point per invested point. But what about other attributes? I recently found this very interesting data mined information on the Reddit, and if this is to be trusted, then we can draw some very interesting conclusions, which I wanted to share with you. These numbers were data mined for strength attributes specifically, and I believe that these numbers should be pretty much the same for all attributes that affect any weapon damage. As you can see above level 300, investing 2 points in strength will have less impact than investing 1 point up to level 100. So for a single attribute weapon like a Great Axe or Warhammer, going over 300 might make sense only in very extreme cases. But what happens with weapons that have primary and secondary attributes, like Sword and Shield or Hatchet? That scales primarily of strength and secondary of dexterity. And here is what I find to be the most interesting and useful data. Let's multiply the modifier by 0.9 to reflect primary attribute scaling and 0.65 to reflect secondary attribute scaling. These numbers clearly show us that investing any point above 200 strength is a bad idea if you only care about weapon damage, as after 200 points we get a modifier of 0.93, while for secondary attribute, up to 100 points modifier is 1.05. And only after we invest 100 points into our secondary attribute makes sense to go over 200 points in our weapon's primary attribute, as now primary attribute will give us a modifier of 0.93 while secondary attribute modifier above 100 points will be around 0.84. I was always curious if there was a threshold for dual attribute weapons, when it made sense damage-wise to invest in secondary attribute instead of primary one. As with diminishing returns, there should be a point where primary attribute gains are less compared to secondary attributes per every new point invested. And now you know when you should switch from investing points into primary attribute into secondary, and then, after investing 100 points, you should go back to primary attribute if you still want to increase your weapon's damage. I will definitely play with attributes and test all this out in live build, so stay tuned. That is all about attribute diminishing returns in a nutshell. Thanks for watching and see you in Eternum.